All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 815 Exchange. I am your host, Chris Control, and we are live from the 704 once again. And well, we got a stacked episode. All right, we have an absolutely stacked episode today. We've got college football conference championship week. It got wicked for some of y'all, especially today. It was the playoff selection committee's reckoning, and well, we had some choices. We're going to talk about it, though. Of course, we're going to talk about it. UFC 323 also came. Pantoja, Merab back in action, but they are no longer at the top of the pound-for-pound rankings after this week. We will talk about that. Karri, y'all know how much I love Karri. All right, we're going to talk about Slider 2 in that entertainment segment. NFL has been a little bit more normal this week. All right, it's been a little bit normal, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Some of y'all still on Fraud Watch. We got to check y'all. All right, and the roundup is stacked. All right, this might be the most stacked roundup in the history of the 815 Exchange. The most stacked outro I've ever had to an episode. We've got 3 major matchups to talk about in college basketball. We've got the MLS Cup. Messi has conquered America. And we've got Lando getting that first World Drivers' Championship. It was the last race of the F1 season, and we'll talk about how Abu Dhabi went. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, all right, everything you're looking for can be found in my description. It's long-form content. Skip to whatever you came for, unless you want to hear me yap for an hour, which, shout out to y'all. All right, shout out to y'all. But, feel free to skip ahead. College football, UFC, whatever you came for. All right, whatever you came for, it's in the description. Invite in the video as well. Social medias, if you want to follow me. All right, in the outro also in the description. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. All right, UFC, let's get to it. All right, let's talk about it. Merab was in action, the king of the bantamweight division, going for history. Going for history. It's crazy that we have him and Islam, or we had him and Islam both challenging, I think it's Anderson Silva's record for, longest undefeated streak in the UFC. Crazy. Unfortunately, that's over with. All right, for Merab. And his crown has been snatched away from him from a former foe, and Peter Yan. All right, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have too much of faith in Peter. We saw how the first fight went between Peter Yan and Merab. Merab dominated him. He had a UD. I mean, it was one of those moments where I was like, yo, I don't know if Yan is still championship quality. I think I may have said that on the show back then when it happened. But this was complete Peter Yan. This was Peter Yan operating at his highest potential in this fight. He pieced up Merab. He had Merab bloodied and bruised. And there's 2 legends we're going to be talking about, 2 future Hall of Famers that had this situation happen to them. The other one's Henry Cejudo. We'll talk about that versus Peyton Talbot very, very soon. But it was a clinical striking. It was what you talk about when you talk about how high level of a striker Peter Yan is. It's a performance like this, whether it's the jab, the hooks, just all of it came together as a striking performance. And then he started taking down Merab, which is normally Merab's whole, gimmick. And it was a beautiful, beautiful performance from Peter Yan. That is how you go in and take a championship. That's how you go in and get your get back. That after what happened in the first fight, Yan worked himself back into championship contention, and when you get that second opportunity, you got to come out here like Yan did. You have to. You got to fight like Yan. Yan came to take that title. He was not leaving Vegas without the bantamweight crown, and he does do just that. We'll see how Merab, comes back from this. I'm expecting a trilogy, which will tie things up for, a certain man we're going to talk about very soon. But nonetheless, all right, an impressive performance from Peter Yan. He is back on top of bantamweight. Let's talk about the flyweights, all right? One of the most exciting divisions in the entire UFC, and it's been in large part due to the cannibal, all right? Alexandre Pantoja has been a breath of fresh, I was going to say air, but he's been an absolute savage. An absolute savage. He has lived up to that nickname, and every contender that has come to Pantoja has left in a relative body bag, whether it's choking them out, knocking them out. He has been dominant, and it has landed him into the top 5 of any pound-for-pound ranking you're looking at. If you don't have him top 5, then what were you talking about? All right, Pantoja was, for all intents and purposes, that guy. However, in the flyweight division, there's a man named Joshua Van that has been one of the hottest prospects in the entire UFC, and he was on a come up. This was a very long-awaited matchup, a very highly anticipated matchup, and unfortunately, to see it actually come to fruition, we're going to have to wait a little bit, even though we do have now the second youngest champion in UFC history in Joshua Van, as he does get the title after Pantoja got caught up in, I think, a kick and tried to come down and land and dislocates his elbow in brutal fashion. I don't know why the UFC, by the way, I don't know why the production team had to keep showing us it over and over and over again. Like, we didn't see it the first couple times. That was ugly. We did not need to see the replay for that. But nonetheless, wishing the best for the Cannibal. Horrible way to lose your title. After the reign that he's had, and much less the matches he's put on as champion, for it to end like this, it sucks. It sucks. And it wasn't a great look, even though I like Van. I'm a fan of Van. It wasn't a great look seeing him. Now, some of it I can forgive. I'm going to be honest. He was caught up in the emotion. You just became champion at 23. This is your dream, and you've achieved it. You know, regardless of how it happened, you achieved it. So I get why he was celebratory. But it sucks, you know, that you didn't win it. You know, it was given to you after an injury that it wasn't like you caused. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a cut injury. It was just an unfortunate freak accident for Pantoja. And I hope he comes back, you know, full power so we can get this matchup proper. And, you know, if Pantoja's the better man, he gets that crown back. If Van is really the next one, then he takes it off him the right way, the way it's supposed to go in the fight game, and not like this. So, very unfortunate that, you know, the flyweight, the co-main went like that. Going back to the bantamweights, all right, going back up to 135, Taira is a pro. It takes a special man, considering that Brandon Moreno had never been. The Assassin Baby had never, former champion, future Hall of Fame, never been finished in the UFC, and Taira did it. All right, his grappling is disgusting. It is everything they say on commentary about his grappling. It is. Believe the hype. Believe the hype. He can be a problem in a division full of relative killers at 135. He is one of them, okay? He is a problem. Now, he would be next in line, right? He would have been next in line for that shot. This is actually 125, right? Would have been next in line for that shot with the winner of Van Pantoja. But with that injury, super unfortunate. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Taira, he's a problem. Takes out Moreno. Let's go to 135 and talk about Henry Cejudo and Peyton Talbot. Of course, Talbot, one of the hottest prospects in the UFC, took a loss 2 fights ago, came back with a vengeance earlier this year. We talked about it. And then here we are. He gets a chance to retire the great Triple C, Henry Cejudo. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a fight this was. What an absolute scrap. I mean, this was an elite scrap. An elite scrap. All right, Cejudo was just as tough as ever. He's not prime Henry, all right, by any means. But he's still as tough as ever. I mean, cut all up on his face. I mean, Talbot is working his body like they do in the UFC video game. His would have been red. All right, his character model, it would have been red. All red. But Cejudo's still stuck in there, kept fighting, kept swinging. And Talbot had a lot of fun in that. All right, he was smiling. He was having a grand old time. But it was a performance like that that really makes a statement of why people hold Peyton Talbot in such a high regard, because he was clinical, man. He was absolutely clinical. He was dissecting Henry in that octagon. It was an impressive performance. My opinion, fight of the night. I don't know if it actually won fight of the night. I didn't see the bonuses for yesterday, but it was an impressive performance. All right, it was why Talbot is so highly regarded. It's this type of performance, you know. It's this. This is what people see in Peyton Talbot, and for him to do that against a legend and really just put him out to pasture, it was got the people going. All right, it got the people going. Shout out to Frank Ocean. But yeah, Henry. Listen, went out on a shield. I can respect it. Didn't get KO'd, didn't get subbed, and quit, and tap. There was nothing wrong with any of those. That's somehow how the fight game goes. He goes out with some respect and a great performance, puts over a young prospect. It's very pro wrestling. You know, for what a guy who lived off of running a gimmick of this the cringe lord in the world, right? That was Henry. He went out in a very pro wrestling way, honestly. He put over the next young talent in the division that he's training. He went out on his back, quote unquote, as they say in the industry. So, yeah, shout out to Triple C, one of the greatest of all time. Talbot, well, time will tell. All right, time will tell, but more performances like that will get you closer and closer to that status. Closing up the rest of this card here, 223, the last major card of the year for the UFC. Jean had a great fight versus Guskov, ended up in a draw. I don't know about that one, but it was a really good scrap. All right, it was another really, really good scrap. This is a really good card, by the way. A great card to end the year on, to be honest with you. Maybe one of the best cards of the year, to be honest with you. If we look back and calculate, probably one of the better cards of the year. That IO KO of Aslan was crazy. All right, they was just swinging and banging in round one. Just swinging and banging. Word to the Black Beast. He would have loved it if he was watching. Cause yeah, it was classic. All right, it was classic. Listen, like we were in a bar. It was a bar fight in the octagon. It was very enjoyable. Go check the highlights for that one. All right, check the highlights for that one. It was a great card though. Shout out to Uncle Dana. He cooked with this one. Shout out to the matchmakers. We move. All right, we move. And ladies and gentlemen, we move to college football, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, this is probably, some of y'all may have skipped to this one because this is one of the hotbed topics maybe of the entire week. All right, this could have main evented. I'm gonna be honest with you, it could have main evented, but let's get to it. First off, let's talk about some of these conference championship games to set the scale for the playoffs. Yeah, American Conference Championship Friday. I was watching it while I was about to do karaoke. But Tulane gets it done here against North Texas after North Texas plays the worst game of. I know they've got a loss on their. This was the worst game of the season for North Texas. When you consider the scale of this game and the importance, they win this game, they make the playoff. But they had their worst game of the season. All right, they're absolutely, now credit to Tulane and John Summerall, who's about to leave, but still here, playing throughout the rest of the season for them, or coaching, should I say. But it was such a bad game from North Texas. Messermacher had 3 interceptions in this game. The freshman who's played so well all season just crumbled in this game. They had 5 turnovers total. I won't put it all on Drew, but yeah, those are killer. In conference championship games and big games, having that many turnovers, always going to be a killer. Jake Retzlaff finishes with 194 yards total and 2 touchdowns. Don't think he's too hurt about leaving BYU. We're going to talk about why he's not too hurt about leaving BYU because one of them is in the playoff, one of them is not in the playoff. Wink, wink. Jamari McClure had a great game. He had 121 yards and a touchdown, and the defense had 5 sacks of Drew as well. It was a great performance from Tulane. It's the performance you need in a conference championship to get it done. All right, get it done. Take advantage of the opportunities North Texas gives you, and that's what Tulane did. That is what they did. They win the American. They're in the playoff. All right? They're in the playoff. Let's talk about number 1 and number 2. We're going to skip ahead a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want to bear with me. All right? Indiana and Ohio State. Oh, my days, to quote the British. Oh, my day. I'm going to be honest with you. I was hyped about this one. I was very hyped about this game, but I thought Ohio State was just on a different level this year. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting back-to-back. They still may do that, but I was expecting them. I thought, well and surely, number 1 team in the country. I thought they were going to be too much for Indiana, too much talent. But ladies and gentlemen, talent is important in football, but it does not win football games solely off of talent, off of the Jimmies and the Joes. Sometimes it's about who got them headsets on. Sometimes it's about, a lot of times, actually, should I say, it's about who prepared better, who wants it more. In Indiana, if they have proven nothing over these past 2 years, and especially over this season, they want this. It has been the greatest turnaround, I dare say, in college football history, from the worst, historically speaking, this is not an exaggeration, statistically speaking, the worst football program in FBS history is the Indiana Hoosiers. 2 years ago, Cignetti got the job, said all of the Big Ten top tier suck. And some of them now suck. And then he went and turned this team around in 2 seasons. And now they are the undisputed, as of today, number 1 team in the country in 2 seasons. Kurt Cignetti, Coach of the Year, in my opinion. I don't know. I know there's some other great candidates. I know he had a great year, a breakout year last year. But to take this team with what he has done with this team, They have like a 9% blue chip ratio. For those that don't know what that means, that's those like 4, 5-star. They don't got a bunch of those guys. He's had to bring in some transfers. Shout out to the boy D. Boykin. He's had to bring in all these guys. He's had to develop these guys that have been here, wanted to stay here, be a part of this over the past 2 years, to be amongst the elite, and now they have arrived. And I want to give another hats off before we really talk about this game about Sig, is that he committed to Indiana. Especially in the job market the past 2 years, he could have left for one of those brand name jobs. He got those offers. We heard about him. We saw him. But he committed to Indiana. He is still committed to Indiana. Regardless of what happens here in the playoff, he is committed to making Indiana great. And I would love, any player in America would love to play for somebody like that. And any program in the country would love to have a leader like that of their program. So shout out to Curt Cignetti. Indiana gets it done here, 13-10. Charlie Becker. This was the Charlie Becker game. I know Fernando is getting the, Nando Heisman, yada, yada, yada. I don't know about that. I'm going to be honest. He didn't play that crazy of a game. He made it happen when it mattered. All right, I will say that about Mendoza. He made it happen when it had to happen in this game. But this was not some crazy Heisman winning game, to be honest with you. Charlie Becker stole the show. Every big catch that had to be made. We heard about this Ohio State defense in secondary especially all year. And they're the truth. Caleb Downs might be the best player in the draft. Davison got a pick in this game. However, Jermaine Matthews got the business. He got the business from Charlie Becker. 6 receptions, 126, including the game sealer. Just one-on-one. Go route, beat him. Straight beat him. Shout out to Becker. Big time performance there in the Big Ten Championship. Isaiah Jones had 2 sacks. They had 5 total of saying, which is a lot. Almost as many as he's been sacked like the past 6 weeks or something crazy. So shout out to that Indiana defense. Came up big time as you could tell. Held OSU to 10 points. Caden Curry though was a problem. That boy was a problem. He looked like J.J. Watt out there for Ohio State. He had 2 sacks, 3 TFLs. But that missed field goal was just brutal. Brutal to get it that close and for that field goal to tie the game. It was 4th and 1. So I'm going to be honest, I would have gone for it. But Heartline Day can do what they want. I would have gone for it personally. Gone for glory. Try to win it. But they went for the field goal. Didn't work out. Shanked it. Indiana able to close the show with Charlie Becker. And Curt Cignetti has Indiana on top of the world and the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Keeping it going here, and we're gonna these next 3 games. All right. Now the first 2 we talked about. Don't get me wrong, were very important. All right, ranked matchups decided a lot of things about the playoff. But these next 3 changed everything. All right, changed everything about how the bracket ultimately was received and what the bracket looked like. Okay, so let's settle in here. Okay, SEC championship we'll talk about first. I know I'm not going chronologically, but we'll get to them. Don't worry. Okay, Georgia takes out Bama 28-7, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. That score's a little bit generous for Bama. It's a little bit generous for them. Okay, they got the belt. Georgia exercised some demons in this game. Kirby Smart exercised some Alabama-colored demons, okay? Georgia came into this game and played in this game like they've been preparing their entire season solely for this, okay? Solely for this. The team that we saw play Bama earlier and this team are 2 different teams. Simply put, it was 2 completely different teams. This Georgia team was not losing to Alabama again, and I have to respect it because we talked about it. I called him out on it. I said it. I'll stand on it. All right? Because it was true until yesterday. Okay? Alabama ran Georgia. Ran them like the Army. In cruder terms, you could say that Georgia was Bama's, but I won't go that far, okay? I won't go that far, but some were saying it, okay? Some were saying it. All right, it was Roll Tide. It was Go Dogs all the way. For some reason, Georgia had a mental block when they played Alabama. But in the SEC Championship yesterday, they demolished that mental block. They said, F that, we shutting this down, it's our time. It is our time, okay? And it's been coming. It has been coming for Georgia to be the number one team in the SEC. I know they've gone back-to-back. I know Kirby has been the coach in the SEC, but Bama has still stuck around there as that like kryptonite for them. They exercised that and they defeated that yesterday, I feel. Gunnar Stockton continues to show up in big games. All right, at the very minimum, whatever you want to say about Gunnar's talent, his NFL prospectus, whatever it is, he shows up when it. Gunnar Stockton, and it shows up when it matters. The lights, I've never seen the lights get too bright. The way they were too bright for Ty Simpson in this game, I've never seen it for Gunnar. Never seen it. All right. 3 touchdowns, the hat trick for him. Ty goes 19 for 39. But he wasn't the biggest indictment of how bad it got for that Bama offense. No. -3. Yeah. -3 rushing yards. Somebody can pull the numbers. That has to be the lowest amount of rushing yards, maybe in Bama history. Or at least going back like to the dark ages. Like pre-Saban dark ages. Because I cannot remember ever seeing Bama have negative rushing yards. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. This Georgia defense, we've talked about it literally every single week. They are the truth. And if you don't believe it after what happened in the SEC Championship, I got nothing else for you. Honestly, I got nothing else to say to you. They are the truth. If defense wins championships, then there is no wonder. There is no wonder they are the number 2 seed in the playoffs. All right? There's no wonder. Or really, they should have been the number 2 seed. Ohio State was the number 2 seed. But we'll get to that. All right? We'll get to that. Nonetheless, Georgia puts the belt, breaks the block, gets it done against Bama. But they weren't the only ones to supply the belt. Okay? Texas Tech whooped BYU. I mean, whooped them. Whooped them. The linebackers coach said, they said y'all can't do it twice. They said, all right, bet. Texas Tech said, okay, bet. They, for all intents and purposes, we're going to talk about the committee. They are the ones that eliminated BYU from the playoff. Not because of anybody. No. The performance we witnessed but from BYU against Texas Tech, that is what really eliminated them from the playoff. Texas Tech beat the brakes off these boys, to put it in my terms. Beat the brakes off of them, okay? BYU didn't look like they belonged. Not going to sit here and mince words. They didn't look like they belonged on the field with them. Ben Roberts had 2 picks. I know we talked about J-Rod, who had 13 tackles in this game. It should be a Heisman, finalist, all that stuff. Buckets Award winner. She'll win the Benark, all of this stuff, okay? Jacob Rodriguez is that guy. I hope he's a Cowboy. But this defense, it's the entire defense for the Red Raiders. That's the reason why they're so highly rated. It's not just a one-man show, even though Jacob is, in fact, a superstar. That guy, like I said, all of it. But people like Roberts, people like David Bailey, another guy that's going to go super high in the draft. He had a sack in this game. This is a complete, the front seven is disgusting, but this is a complete defense. Complete defense. Roberts and Rodriguez are as good as it gets as a linebacker duo in the country. I'm going to be honest with you. All right, and Roberts stole the show here. He was giving Bear Bachmeier hell as a linebacker in coverage. All right, Bear looked like a freshman playing his first major conference championship game. He looked like it. He looked exactly like it. People were saying he should be playing tight end out there. All right, the casuals were cracking all types of jokes that don't know who Bear Bachmeier is. All right, it was getting wicked. It was getting wicked out there. All right, offensively for Texas Tech, Morton Coy Eaton lace up twice to get 2 TDs. And yeah, it was just the no good, very bad game for BYU. There was nothing good for Kalani's team. Texas Tech dominated. They made a statement in this game. And it's the second time they've done it to BYU this year. Second time they've pieced them up like this. Absolute statement for Texas Tech. Puts the world on notice. And the last game that really changed everything here for the playoff was the ACC Championship. Here in the 704, we had Duke versus Virginia. It's bragging rights for me and my father. And my team won. All right, the Duke Blue Devils are ACC champions. Yes, the 8-5 now. Duke Blue Devils are ACC champions somehow, some way here in overtime. Crazy. All right, absolute crazy. Chandler Morris, of course, ended this the only way he could with their pick on the first play from scrimmage. Once Virginia got the ball in OT. It was the only way this could end for Virginia. It was the only way. Eventually, the luck had to run out. We've talked about it all year with Virginia. They were falling upwards insanely well. All right, I don't know how Tony Elliott did it. I don't know what type of black magic voodoo Virginia had, but they just kept finding ways to fall upwards and somehow get W's. It ran out of luck in the ACC championship. When they needed it most, they win. They're in the playoff. Changes everything. But Duke is able to pull off the upset. Chaos had to rule. And Mensa to Haley, X2. They get 2 TDs with that connection. And Duke crashes the party. All right, don't make the playoff. All right, they're whoa, not too much now. All right, not too much. Saw Manny Diaz talking about, hey, we should make it. No, not, hey, hold it. So I'm out, buddy. Hey, congrats on the ACC championship, but playoffs, absolutely not. All right, you got 5 losses. That hell no. Okay, but how about the Blue Devils? All right, how about the Blue Devils, ACC champions? Imagine telling a Miami fan that Manny Diaz would have been an ACC champion 5 years ago. That's woo. Woo. All right, but let's talk about it, okay? Playoffs. Let's talk about it. Finally. As I've spoiled before, okay? Let's just cut to the chase here. Indiana is the number 1 seed, well deserved. Took out Ohio State, only undefeated left. No notes. All right, Ohio State wins the number 2. I get it. They were the best team in the country up till yesterday. Barely lost to Indiana. You know, it's not like, Georgia is, completely without a loss. Now OSU only has 1 as well. So I don't hate it. I probably would have had Georgia just off of being a conference champion and beating Bama. I would have had them too, but it's fine. It's fine. They got to play each other anyway if they both win because Georgia's 3. The 4 seed is Texas Tech, of course. All right, after handling business, dominating BYU in the Big 12, they end up with the 4 seed. All right, so the top 4 seeds, no big surprises. We knew it was going to be those 4. Let's move. Number 5 goes to Oregon. Well-deserved. Big Ten was great this year. Oregon finished well. A little too many losses got them out of that Big Ten championship, of course, against Indiana and Ohio State. Not their fault. They get the 5 seed. 6 seed goes to Ole Miss. They don't get penalized, which is very interesting. They do not get penalized for not having their head coach, which is fine. I think it's how it should be, but it's an inconsistency with what we've seen before with the committee. But Ole Miss gets the 6. It's where they deserve to be. All right, off of what they did this year, that's fine. You could argue that Texas A&M maybe should have been 6, but Texas A&M here is 7. Again, great year. Deserve to be in the playoff. No notes. All right. Oklahoma's 8. We knew they were going to be in. No notes. Here's where it gets wicked. All right. Because the big story, of course, is Miami, Notre Dame, and Alabama. All right. Who's making the playoff? And then, of course, you got James Madison. They handle business in the Sun Belt. They should get in, right? Best 5, right? Best 5. You have them higher than Duke. So somebody's getting shafted here. James Madison does make it. All right, they're the last seed, the 12th seed. They will be playing Oregon and Autzen. Going to be very interesting. Shout out to Alonzo. Shout out to 336 Legend. All right. So they make it in. Tulane, of course, makes it in. They'll be playing Ole Miss. All right, that's the 6 versus 11 matchup. So, Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know why this was a discussion between Miami and Notre Dame in the first place. Considering Miami beat Notre Dame. That should have been in the story. Okay, so I don't know why Notre Dame was ahead of Miami when they had the same amount of losses. Now, I get it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Notre Dame is one of the best 12 teams. I would have loved to see them in the playoff. I would have loved to see what Jeremiah Love could do in the playoff. I think Notre Dame is that good. They could have been, done some real damage here. All right? I would have loved to have seen them in the playoff. However, they had no reason. When there is a head-to-head matchup, we're not working off a theoretical of, I think Notre Dame is better than Miami now. They played. We don't have to do a hypothetical of, I wonder what would happen if Notre Dame and Miami played, because they played week 1, and I don't care that it was week 1, all those months ago, they beat them. In the story, Miami deserves to be in, okay? So Miami, they make it. They'll play Texas A&M. That's the 7 versus 10. Here's where it becomes a thing for me, right? Alabama. And it's a real tight one. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a really, really tight, I'm a little bit more neutral. I know a lot of people hate Bama, so they're instantly swinging one way. But I'm going to be honest with you. They made the conference championship. And that should matter for something because it happened with BYU, right? BYU got the brakes beat off of them and they got penalized for it and they get, the first team out. Bama also got the brakes beat out of them, but they don't even move, which I feel like was kind of crazy. If they're going to make it, fine, but they don't even move, all right? Committee essentially said here, we think Bama's better than BYU. And we don't want to penalize them because they would have raised all hell if they'd have gotten penalized for losing the SEC championship to Georgia, who is the number 3 seed. But, it's like wins and losses got to matter. Wins and losses got to matter. And honestly, I think if Bama and Georgia, this goes down to the wire, and Georgia just barely beats Bama here, I think it's a different story. Bama makes it. Drop them a little bit still. Maybe not, make them the 8-9. I don't know about that. But they still make it. I wouldn't have too much of it wouldn't be as too much of a big point of contention here, People would still be upset because it's Bama and people hate Bama. But if they would have lost by less in a better game, had a better performance in the SEC championship, it wouldn't have been as controversial because it would have been like, they lost to a great team. They split the series, which was really important. They deserve it. But they got the brakes beat off them. -3 rushing yards, right? So for them to get over Notre Dame, it's kind of iffy for me. I might have swapped them out, to be honest with you personally. I know that would have been a big thing about conference championship games and yada, 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 and participation. And I don't want to penalize anybody for being in a conference championship. But, wins and losses matter. All right, wins and losses matter. You made your conference championship. You're supposed to be one of the best. It should have been a great game. But you got the brakes beat off you, like you said. That doesn't inspire confidence that you're going to really do anything here in the playoff. But they do make it, and which I get it. Again, like we said, don't want to penalize anybody for the conference championship. But I think Bama was the team, not Miami. If you're going to have Notre Dame, you got to have Miami. Same record, head-to-head win, makes sense. But I think Bama is the team that you could have swapped out for Notre Dame, or if you're really heavy on BYU and you didn't want to penalize them, like, Bama didn't get penalized here, then maybe that's where you make the switch. But I don't think it was Miami-Notre Dame. I think Miami should have been ahead of Notre Dame, so this wasn't even a conversation, and Notre Dame should have been looking in, so it wasn't like, they didn't play a game, why did they switch, and that whole thing. I think that's how it should have gone. But, nonetheless, this playoff we get, Oklahoma plays Bama, like I said, in the 8-9, and you got a ball, and we'll see. Ultimately, not too mad at the bracket, not too mad about who got in. I think it's going to be highly controversial as it's been, as we've seen, but not the end of the world, ultimately, like people are saying. But, it's going to be very interesting. Again, 2 group of 5s, I think, really changed everything. I think people expected Miami to win the ACC, and that would have fixed it. I think the committee thought that Virginia was going to be Duke, and that would have fixed it because then one of the group of 5s leaves, and then you could have had another one of BYU, Notre Dame, Bama, Miami. You could have had 2 of those in, but that's just not how it worked out. Duke put off the upset, and then people got blown out. So that's just how the cookie crumbles, as they say. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting playoffs. And I'm very excited. All right, still very, very excited. Unfortunate for those that didn't make it. Sucks for Notre Dame because, again, I think they super duper deserve to be in there and are one of the best 12 teams. But got to win games. All right, wins and losses matter. But yeah, Bama maybe got a little bit of a nudge. Let's just put it like that. Maybe got a little bit of a nudge. A little bit of help there. Okay, a little bit of home cooking maybe from ESPN. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about entertainment, okay? Slider 2. Karri, I said he was my Young Artist of the Year, and he proved it with Slider 2. All right, I'm going to give it an 8.8. SWV is one of the best songs of the year. If you need one song besides the single, Strip, Go with Kalani, if you want us to listen to one album cut to sell you on this project, SWV. It's one of the best of the year. Trust the boy, all right? Trust Ocho. It is that good, all right? It is the goods. He is the goods. Slider 2, good. It was so good, I had to give it a double my favorite number. All right, shout out to Karri, my Young Artist of the Year. Nino Paid dropped Bad Beans. It was solid. All right, I feel like I'm starting to understand what I'm getting here when I come and listen to Nino. But I liked it. It got the cosign from me. Bad Beans, go check it out. Other things in pop culture this week, we had a couple trailers. Streamer Awards was yesterday, for those of you that are perpetually on mine. Cutie got shafted by production. That was awful, awful production. India Love. Oh my gosh. Birds are going to be birds. Let's just put it like that, y'all. All right. Birds will be birds. Birds have bird brains, and they will do bird brain things. That is what India Love has been a bird her whole life. All right. Not really her fault. It's how she was raised. But, birds going to be birds. She tried to have her Kanye moment. It was embarrassing. Woshin, embarrassing. Not all of y'all are, I'm sure, like this, but, yelling at Cutie in the crowd because Wendy didn't win. She wasn't necessarily better than Senna or Adapt, all right? So it wasn't like she didn't get robbed. All right? And maybe Wendy would have a little bit more goodwill if it was, quote-unquote, rigged, if y'all weren't acting like y'all do and acting like this cult for no reason. And she wasn't mouthing off, being a bird, all right? That is the story of Streamer Awards. Birds will be birds, okay? Some streamers are fucking stupid. I don't know what to tell you, okay? I don't know what to tell you. Shout out to Speed and Kai for cleaning up, though. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the NFL. All right, let's talk about it. We needed to be humble, okay? We needed to be humble. I'm not even mad about this one. I'm honestly not even mad. Gibbs had the Hattie, J-Mo and ARSB getting straight to it, because our secondary sucks. Deron Bland was literally on all fours for Gibbs, but I ain't even mad about it. All right, Dak threw 2 picks. I'm not mad about it. All right, I knew we were going to lose this game, and we needed to be humble. All right, for us to go on any type of run to be competitive or maybe sneak into playoff, this had to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. This game had to happen. And Detroit need their get back. All right, they need their get back. It's been a rough run. They've been in fraud territory. They need their get back. They got it. Okay, 44-30. They handle business. Jahmyr Gibbs, you are that guy. He needs to be an Offensive Player of the Year talks, maybe even some MVP talks. I wouldn't be mad about that either. Only thing that sucked for the Cowboys, I'm going to be honest with you in this game, were the injuries. All right, Quinn getting banged up. CD getting concussed after going for 6 and 121. Oh, that sucks. All right, that was brutal. But Flournoy stepped up big time. All right, 9 receptions, 115 and a touchdown. Pickens was having one of those games. All right, I can forgive it. He just got to lock in next week. Again, this was a game that we were probably going to lose. It is what it is. All right, not the end of the world. Lions needed this one, though. Needed it. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Fraud Watch is back yet again because of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So come on down, Tampa Bay. Frauds. Absolute frauds. Losing to the New Orleans Saints in the Big 25 at home is pure fraudulent activity. It is the most fraudulent of activity, perhaps, you can possibly do, besides maybe losing to the Raiders on the road. How? You got Tyler Shaw over here looking like Prime Lamar. Prime Lamar don't even look like Prime Lamar no more. But y'all got Tyler Shaw, the 25-year-old that somehow got picked by the Saints that we've all given up on. But he had a great game today. All right, Tyler balled out, so no slander actually to his name today. He was a big reason why they won this game. Came in clutch as well, 2 rushing touchdowns, like I said. In Tampa Bay, what the hell? what? Frauds. I got nothing. Saints weren't even trying to win this game. They're tanking. How do you? Jesus, disgusting. Miami and the Jets. We ain't going to elaborate on this game. All right, Miami gets the win here, 34-10. Jets are on the 3rd string quarterback. It's just misery in New York, New Jersey. Vikes handle Washington, 31-0. And I have so many questions. Not for the Minnesota Vikings. They needed this game. I feel like they exercised some demons in this game, to be honest with you. They needed this. JJ had a really good performance. It was a classic JJ McCarthy performance. 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. I've seen that stat line so many times when he was at Michigan. So many times. On the other hand, I'm a Cowboys fan, but even I am like, what are the Commanders doing? Does anybody know? Anybody? Yo, neighbors, do y'all know what the Commanders? No, I don't either. What are the Commanders doing? Do you at home? Somebody tell me. And tell me why Jaden Daniels is even playing this week. I get that he's healthy and, he probably wants to play, but his elbow was 90 degrees the wrong direction like less than a month ago. Y'all are 3-9. You're not going nowhere, buddy. Go get a top pick. All right? Why are you bringing back your franchise quarterback with a full cast on? Who's got an injury history already? Y'all have done this so many times. It's heritage, but I don't understand it. I don't. It's Washington heritage. They've done it with so many. RG3, Theismann, whoever. They've done it so many times, but I never understand it. I never, ever, ever do. Jaden Daniels, no reason for him to even be playing in this game. I just shut him down for the season or brought him back maybe like last week's if he just really wants to play and get some game time in. But this season is a wash. It's a wash. And to make matters worse, Zach Ertz, who's been having a very solid season for the Commanders, knee is gone. Knee is gone. It's a terrible way to end his career. Sucked. Sucked to see. This was a no-good, very bad game for the Commanders, and it could have been all avoided. The Ertz was a freak injury, but Jaden Daniels should have never been playing. It was completely idiotic, complete malpractice from the Washington management. Questions need to be asked. Seattle takes care of Atlanta 37-9. A good get-back game, again, after their own fraud watch. Darnold had 349, 3 touchdowns. Better game for him this week. JSN had 792 yards and 2 touchdowns. So back to business for him. And they had 2 picks at Kirk Cousins, who was just, again, washed like a Tide Pod. We had a really good game here, though. Maybe even game of the week. Buffalo and Cincinnati delivered. All right. Cincinnati is back. All right. Not necessarily winning games, but being one of the most exciting teams. Burrow just, if you're wondering what the Burrow effect is they just make Cincinnati one of the most exciting, as a neutral. As a Bengals fan, it probably is hell, all right? This team probably just sucks to watch. But as a neutral, they're so much fun because they will play anybody close. Whether they win or lose, they will play a great, high-scoring game, and it will be great to watch, all right? Josh Allen was best in the world, Josh Allen, today. 329 and 4 touchdowns, including 3 of them in the fourth, to win this game. So yeah, shout out to Josh, shout out to Haley Steinfeld as always. Joey B, Joe Icy, Joe Brr, had to do it because he was in the snow. He had 284, 4 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions, very, very costly in a close game. T. Higgins had 6 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns, but had a very costly drop. So yeah, those superstars for the Bengals had some letdowns in this game. I think that cost them ultimately. But more importantly, that defense could do nothing against Josh Allen in the snow, and Buffalo gets back on track. The Jacksonville Jaguars are leading the AFC South, ladies and gentlemen. The season is over for the Indianapolis Colts. The Linsanity run is over. Daniel Jones's Achilles is also over, as he blew it. Yeah, that thing popped. It sucked. It was one of the, again, many horrible injuries this week in the NFL, which has been terrible. But unfortunate way for the Colts. A little run in. But yeah, it's done. Riley Leonard is not leading you anywhere, as we saw in this game. However, the Clemson duo, it felt like old times. All right, it felt like we were back at Clemson. All right, T-Law, ETN, 2 tutties apiece, 4 total. Jags handle business 36-19. They're going to make the playoffs, and then I have no idea. I think they're just a weapon of chaos at this point. Jacksonville is, but we will see. All right, we will see. DJ, wishing you the best. That sucks because you were going to get paid. Okay, you were about to get paid, my boy. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Was a football game. For a lot of it was a football game being played. All right, in Baltimore, no words, okay? No words for y'all. But ultimately, Baltimore makes it close at the end and then just cannot finish the job. Pittsburgh's able to hold on. Alex Highsmith, shout out to the boy, closes the show with a sack. Aaron Rodgers, 284, 2 touchdowns, one of those on the ground. It was a very good performance from Aaron Rodgers. He needed it because he's been statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year, but he didn't look as washed this week, so that's always good. Okay, DK Metcalf looked like the guy that they got. You know, that's just who they acquired. 7 receptions, 148 yards, 217 yards rushing for Pittsburgh. Big time. All right, big time. Takes the lead in that division, which has been god-awful this year, but Pittsburgh has somehow made their way to the top. Baltimore, it's done. Okay? Y'all are close. We talked about it last week. This is the season from hell for Baltimore, to be honest with you, and I think it's the last season with John Harbaugh in command. Okay? Tennessee and Cleveland was another really, really good game. All right, came down to the wire, and then Shedeur Sanders, having an amazing game, by the way. Shedeur had 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Don't say nothing. Just hold it up. All right, outplayed Cam Ward, his boy. 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for Cam. Shedeur got it, okay? Judkins. We all love Quinshon Judkins. He's a great running back. He's a player now. I was going to say prospect, but, he's emerging as one of the good, young running backs in the league. A lot of high expectations for his future in the Browns. He's got a bright future. What the hell is he doing? We've seen it before, so I can't be like, I've never seen this in my life, but it's rare. It's rare to see at this level a player completely forget what he's doing in a big moment like this. I mean, the lights got so bright that he lost his mind. It was a clear as day reverse. A clear as day reverse. And you could literally see him run past the guy he was supposed to pitch it to, and then see the moment when it clocked in his head that, oh, I didn't pitch the ball. I was too busy thinking about the game. I forgot to run the play. And then he tried to run the play and threw an illegal pass at the end of the game. It was just, for such a good young player, it was just such an embarrassing moment. It was such a classic Browns way to lose, though. I'm not going to lie. It was hilarious. Titans get the win here in a Tank Bowl. Like I said, Shedeur balled out. Cam not so much. Tony Pollard did, though. 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony was toting that thing. Harold Fenton had a really good game as well. 8 receptions, 14 and a touchdown. Miles did get the sack. So I think he's 3.5 sacks away. For the record, like I said, should be a play. He had 3 TFLs as well. So yeah, the depoy was the depoy. But Quinshon Judkins, what could have been if you didn't forget that you were playing football and this was, I don't know what Judkins thought he was. I don't know if Judkins knew he was playing football. I think the moment, I could see the piss running down his leg when he got the ball. He was like, oh, I didn't know I would be here. Okay. However, it was a much better week for, actually no, it was a horrible week for Ohio State. So yeah, just a rough week for Ohio football. Just a rough past 2 days. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. All right, the back half of these games. Denver took care of Vegas. To nobody's surprise. Okay, to nobody's surprise. 24-17 is a little bit of surprise. Though, honestly, credit to Vegas. Okay, credit for Vegas for making this a much more competitive game than people probably anticipated, especially in that fourth quarter, even though that last field goal from Carlson was a complete stat pad. But, it is what it is. Benito had 2 sacks. Rams put belt on the Cardinals, 45-17. Matthew Stafford may win. We need to come to terms with Matthew Stafford maybe winning the MVP this year. All right, leads the league in passing touchdowns. He added another 3 to that total this week. 381 total yards. Blake Corum had 128 and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams got in the box. Puka had 167 and 2 touchdowns. It was one of those games where everybody eats. All right, so great game for the Rams. Light work. Good get back. Another get back game this week. Green Bay and Chicago was the biggest game of the week, of course. Top seed in the NFC on the line. Top in the NFC North on the line. 2 teams that are headed towards the playoffs. The Bears, of course, on the streak. Packers also on the streak. Who's going to come out of it? All right, in Lambeau. Cold weather. Classic. All right, absolute classic Bears-Packers matchup. And it was a very good game. All right, very, very good game. Trading shots in that fourth quarter. Caleb leads them down, ties it with the throw to Loveland. Packers just mow right down that Bears defense. Like they weren't even there. Went through them like butter. Jacobs, the closer, gets the touchdown, ends up being the go-ahead, and ends up being the game winner. As the Bears start getting down the field, again, Caleb on one, showing off all of the arm talent. He's got the Packers pass rush in hell. And then 4th and 1, he could have ran and got the yard. He could have just given it to DJ and got the yard. But he sees Komet in the back of the end zone, 1v1 versus Nixon, and he has some space on him, but he throws it like sidearm, like baseball style, like Derek Jeter, but he lofts it for some reason and threw it right to Nixon. I mean, threw it right. It was a great throw to Keshawn Nixon. Made Keshawn Nixon look like a star, which he's not. All right, which he's not. He runs his mouth like one. Oh, boy loves to talk. Don't like to do too much besides that, but, likes to talk. And guess what? He got to back it up today because Caleb threw it right to him, and that was the game. You had some great moments of brilliance from Caleb in this game, and then that was just boneheaded. Absolutely boneheaded, reckless, complete gunslinging from Caleb. The gunslinger that we normally talk about for Green Bay had a hat trick in this game. He did have that government-mandated Jordan Love pick, though. So wasn't completely clean, but the Packers are the real deal. All right, they are the real deal. We kind of knew this, but yeah, they, of anybody, appear to not be frauds. Them, the Broncos, and the Pats are the only non-fraudulent teams, perhaps. And the Bears, we'll see. Jury's still out. Jury's still out after this game, but Packers get it done in the big NFC North matchup. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Roundup. And of course, we go into F1. Last time this year, okay? Last time we talking about F1 for the year. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I don't know why they do it at this racetrack because I'm going to be honest, it's not the most exciting racetrack. But nonetheless, Max takes pole, makes it interesting. You got Oscar, then Lando. And that's how we finish. Max, Oscar, Lando. Which means that Lando Norris, ladies and gentlemen, is the 35th man to win the World Driver Championships. So, good stuff from Lando. It's been a year. Okay, it's been a year. Started off as the favorite, probably alongside Max, but I think everybody saw how good McLaren was going to be. Then Oscar really took command in the first half of the season. Lando was kind of faltering. The pressure got to him. A lot of stuff was going on. And then he came back strong. After break, Lando just really, really locked in. And then he was able to hold off Max here at the end after Max pulls off 3 straight victories. And he gets it done. All right, he gets it done. First World Drivers' Championship for him. 11th from Britain. McLaren gets the double along with the constructors. Max finishes second, 2 points behind. Now, everybody's going to point to the shit with Kimi last week. But I don't know why. If you lose by 2, he didn't lose the championship last week. He lost the championship when he could have gotten 2 points when he had a DNF earlier in the season or when he put it into George earlier in the season. Like one of those times where he could have picked up those points, Max could have won. Same thing with Oscar. If Oscar didn't go cold, Oscar could have won, right? We can do these hypotheticals all day long. But the thing with Kimi, losing, which again, people still absolutely idiotically think that Kimi, for some reason, gave the spot, which he has no incentive to do, to give it to a McLaren driver. Makes no sense. They still try to point to that, which is dumb. It's dumb, and I'm not entertaining it. Lando did what had to be done here at the end to get it done. Showed a lot of great mettle. Showed the mindset of a champion. So shout out to Lando because, he was, again, a member of this, great generation of drivers we have currently. But he was not the one that was expected, right? Max, we knew. We thought Charles. George was even higher on the totem pole than Lando. But Lando's the one that's champion. So shout out to Lando. We'll see what happens next year. It's going to be a lot different with the new regs. Hearing a lot of reports about Mercedes might be cooking something up, which could be good for McLaren, of course, because they do share that engine manufacturer. I would like to see Ferrari, please, Charles, and Lewis. All right, please. I would love to see them be competitive. Please. Begging. And also, better racing. All right, I need better racing. As much as I love F1, some of these races, I'm not going to lie, are not the greatest to get through. But nonetheless, shout out to Lando. It was a good season. All right, good season. Competitive season. MLS Cup. MLS season wrapped up this week. Miami versus Vancouver. And ladies and gentlemen, for I think the 48th or 49th time, Lionel Messi, the GOAT, has collected a trophy. All right, 3-1. Miami gets the win here in the MLS Cup. Messi has 2 assists. This was a back and forth game for a lot of it, but then they flipped the switch after that 70th minute. They went to a different place, and they locked it down. All right, Messi was genuinely happy. For anybody that questions how much these players care about the MLS when they come over here, I haven't seen Messi that happy since they won the World Cup. All right, man was in joy. Okay? It was also the last match for legendary players Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets. Went out on top. Busquets had the pass to Messi that set that up, same thing with Alba. So great stuff from the Barcelona legends. And Messi finally gets one over Muller. College basketball. Let's talk about it. Duke, Michigan State. Great game. Super stressful for me. I can just, this week, tested me. All right, Florida barely survived. Praise the Lord, Cam Boozer. Once again here, Cam gets shut out in the first half of Michigan State. Credit's due. Cooper went off in this game, by the way. He had 18 and 16. He was great. Jackson Kohler as well had a really strong first half. Disappeared in the second half. A lot of that due to the fact that Cam Boozer went ballistic. Okay, 18, 15, and 5, the potential number overall pick finishes with in the current National Player of the Year favorites. And we get the W 66-60 in Lansing. It's beautiful. All right, stressful. So very stressful. Shout out to C-Foss. Caleb Foster really coming into his own as point guard for this team. Playing alongside Caden very well. Love that for us. Zay with the big shot at the end. Even though it wasn't his best shooting day. I need Dame Sarr to do something. I mean, Dame, he's a great defender, but I need him to be something offensively. All right, I need Dame to develop something offensively to take this Duke team to that next level, because I really do wonder with Zay's consistency, can he be that second guy besides Boozer? But Duke looking really, really strong, building a hell of a resume right now with this non-conference. Fears. Had 13 assists, but don't do the whole F-Cam Boozer thing if you're going to go 0 for 10, buddy. All right, you're not your brother. All right, you're not your brother. Duke gets the win. Iowa State beat the brakes off of Purdue. It was the shock of the week. The shock of the week. We thought it was going to be a competitive game, maybe either way. Purdue probably going to win, number one team in the country. And they beat the brakes off of them. Milan had 20. It was just dominant. All right, Iowa State, wire to wire, belt to on the Boilermakers. And Purdue already takes that L, and we can start, tampering some of those expectations. Louisville, very up and down week. All right, very, very up and down week. Lost to Arkansas earlier in the week, then had a big game here versus Indiana. Indiana, of course, riding high off of literally the football team and then becoming a football school. Well, maybe they are a football school because Louisville gets it done here, 87-78. 5 different players in double figures. 4 on starters, 1 off the bench. Beautiful recipe for success for Louisville. I do want to say, though, about Mikel. Of course, he's a star freshman. Lottery pick, a lot of talent. It's apparent. Gotta shoot better though. All right, you gotta shoot better. You're the only starter that didn't get to that double digits mark, and you're shooting under 40% this year. Gotta work on that efficiency. All right, talent is there, but he has to be more efficient. Not just for his pro prospectus, but honestly for this Louisville team to reach the heights that they want to reach this year. Got to get right. All right, he's got to get right. But, we got a lot of season left here with college basketball. And, of course, we're going to talk about it here on the 815 Exchange. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It is almost the most wonderful time of the year. Mariah Carey is blaring, and we are getting into December. The temperature has dropped here in Charlotte. I don't know about where you are, but it has been cold. All right, it has been cold. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.